to say that the Addams Family has had a long history in pop culture, but what's everybody's first introduction to the franchise? Because I think that mine probably was one of the 90s movies, but again, they both really blur together in my head because I feel like these were on rerun a lot.
Agree. And also, I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure I did see these movies when they came out. So Addams Family was 91 and Family Values was 93. I don't specifically remember seeing them when they came out because I would have been a little too young, but I have vivid recollections of Wednesday in particular in Family Values. I love the scene, and it's like I still remember it to this day, of her being asked by a middle-aged woman, like if she was thinking about, you know, the things that all young girls think about and implying that it was boys. And Wednesday was like, homicide. And that moment sticks out to me. I haven't seen this movie in forever, but yeah, I think I would agree with you, Pam, and say that it's mostly the 90s movies that are my touchstone. What about you, Micah?
Definitely. And as I said earlier, I certainly watched some of those 1960s episodes, but probably not until after I was introduced to these two films. And I would guess that maybe I saw them when they initially came out. I would have also been a little young in 91. I would have been 9. So I don't know that that's something that my parents would have necessarily taken me to see, but certainly as the 90s went on, and I love these films. I loved seeing Raul Julia as Gomez and Angelica Houston as Morticia, Christopher Lloyd as Fester Addams. And what stands out to me, what I remember the most, is Gomez and Fester doing the mamushka.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Iconic scene.
And just, I think one of the characters that often gets lost, and I know we just talked about the fact that there's a building on the campus of Syracuse that looks a lot like it. It is the mansion, right? Like there's so many cool places that you could go within this house. And I'm thinking about everything that exists underneath it. That was such a big component of Addams Family Values.
Yeah, like the lab and the torture chamber and like
the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The graveyard. Yeah, that's a great point. So what was it about Netflix's Wednesday specifically that initially drew us into wanting to check out season 1? Because obviously we know that like, you know, being fans of a past iteration of a franchise doesn't always mean that we get excited to check out a new iteration. Like I'm sure none of us were queuing in line for the CGI movies, you know, that came out a couple years before this show. So
no, the only thing that I remember about the CGI movies was there was kind of a small online controversy amongst parents who decided, I guess, at one point in the first CGI movie, Pugsley crawls up a wall and there was like a whole group of concerned parents who were like, this movie is promoting demonic possession. Don't take your children to see it.
Oh, Lord.
And that's like my only touch point for
We've
it.
We've been there before.
Yeah. And I'm like, do y'all know what, like, do you know what the Addams Family is? Or did you just walk into this theater with no context for what you were walking into? But anyway, I digress. I think what really drew me into this series is that, you know, one, I'm not someone who has an encyclopedic knowledge of Addams Family lore. And I think that can make it easier to be more open to spinoffs and new takes. But to me, this was really refreshing. Anytime I see Tim Burton attached to a property that is distinctly macabre, like the Addams Family, I'm always going to be excited. And then seeing what the cast list was before even getting into the show or seeing any of the trailers, I was just walking into it with a pretty high confidence that it was going to be good. So I think some of it was like a trust factor based on like the pedigree of names attached to it. And also Jenna Ortega is fantastic. And hearing about her casting as Wednesday is like, oh my God. Like they couldn't have found a better one right now, I don't think.
For me, there's a bit of that nostalgia factor, I'll definitely say, but I really enjoyed the Nevermore Academy setting. It offered this kind of dark, magical school vibe, which was pretty adjacent to Hogwarts in terms of, we obviously do a Harry Potter podcast and have spent many a day inside the halls of Hogwarts. And this is a little bit different. And I like that. I like kind of the different creatures that we learn that a lot of these students are themselves becoming. Like it's kind of some of it's shrouded in mystery initially, and then we learn as the season goes on. Some of it's apparent from the start, but the fact that we also have, sirens and werewolves and some of these other fun, dark creatures maybe that we grew up with taking shape in these characters is fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what really kept me watching, the added element of like almost like a noir detective type vibe, that they started injecting in, having Wednesday be kind of a super sleuth. And I was also definitely intrigued by the idea of adding an actual magic element into the foreground of these characters, because obviously, we know that the Addams family is like, they're unique, but we never really seen them like exhibit any kind of like magical abilities other than like maybe having a high pain tolerance in some of the 90s movies. But the actual magic element was kind of like, okay, like this is either going to be like really good or really bad. And I think that it works strangely well for these characters.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think in order for it to work, they had to kind of expand the universe through having Nevermore Academy, right? So that you saw more of a variety of different oddballs, if you will, with different abilities. So, to the point that was raised earlier, that's why you're seeing like werewolves and sirens and all these other things at Nevermore. It's not just people who are like Wednesday. And it's the exact reason that Wednesday still sticks out, because these are, apart from their different abilities, these are normal teenagers for the most part doing normal teenage things, and Wednesday is decidedly not.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like normal teenage things, I will say one of the other things that I really enjoyed was the mismatched kind of grumpy sunshine pair up that they had with Enid and Wednesday. And
oh God, I love
just
her.
That ended up having so much heart in the end. And it was a really nice like friendship to watch unfold, honestly. And it was unexpected, similar to the way that they really gave like a very compelling storyline as well, having like these like interesting team ups that they chose for the show.
I'm so glad you mentioned Thing, because I can't believe we've gone 20 minutes into this episode and not mentioned him once.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, he's the sidekick, right? I mean, he's with Wednesday pretty much the entirety of the season, and almost you could create a show just around him if you really wanted to.
Yeah. They did such a good job character, because obviously like, again, one of those iconic Addams Family characters, but he's kind of just around. But they did such a good job creating like a characterization around a hand that does not speak, that I was welling up when we get to like, that big moment when it looks like maybe he's not going to make it. So
for sure. And there's also, you mentioned Enid. Thing also creates a bit of a relationship there too, right? It's not just with Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah, it's almost like again, I love this kind of point that we arrived on earlier in the episode, which is that, say what you will about the Addams family and how kooky they are, they have each other's backs in ways that a lot of other families that may seem more normal don't. And I think in a way, Thing was trying to foster that sense of like family community for Wednesday, because he knew that she was an outcast at Nevermore. He knew she didn't want to be there. Right. And I think he was trying to do a little bit of matchmaking, like friendship matchmaking between the two of them.
That's so wholesome. I love that take.
That's the thing. Like, the Addams family, they are so wholesome. They're weird as hell.
Right.
And they're not like standard normal people, but they love each other.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day. That's what makes it so fun.
Yeah. Any other things that we enjoyed about season 1, or anything that we hope carries over into season 2 that we particularly enjoyed from season 1?
I did enjoy the murder mystery aspect of season 1 with the Hyde monster. Also the secret past of Nevermore Academy. It gave the series a lot of momentum throughout, and it kept viewers guessing and theorizing, kind of going into that whodunit appeal a little bit. I'm not sure that we'll get that in season 2, just because we had it in season 1, but I'm curious to see what kind of mysteries pop up. There's definitely a lot to talk about, especially around the first 6 minutes of the episode that we got, and the introduction of characters like Grandmama. What is she doing in season 2? Why is she a part of the cast when she was left out of season 1?
Yeah, what's she been up to?
Yeah.
What's she been doing this whole time? Like,
And
you have to think there's going to be an introduction of her character where she's been off doing something during season 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, Mikey, you brought up that we got the first 6 minutes of the first episode for season 2, because, that was kind of like the biggest news that's broke since the last time we talked about Wednesday. And speaking of Grandmama, I think that I caught that Wednesday is using her book, right? In the beginning, doesn't she say she's using Grandmama's book?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're already kind of from the beginning setting up the fact that this is a new family member that they're going to be introducing into the fold.
And probably where Wednesday gets her power from.
Right. If it's her book, presumably, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what were our initial reactions overall to the first 6 minutes? I think it seems like it put a lot into perspective in terms of like what we saw in the teaser.
Look, only Wednesday would seek out a serial killer as a teenager, and I did love the fact that this tied back to an elementary school project, and we actually get to see her explaining the whole thing to the class, who have these absolutely shocked looks on their face, as you would. And I think we also get some answers as to why she was going through TSA at Newark Airport. Yeah. I think we were a little confused about that in the teaser. But I thought it was really well done, very fun. And that serial killer doesn't know what he's in for.
Yeah. Is Wednesday Dexter now? Like, is she going to be an anti-hero who is seeking vigilante justice?
It's interesting that her first thought is to use her psychic powers to do that, though.
Yeah.
To that point. I think it also, like, I was kind of wondering about the horror movie type vibes of the teaser trailer, especially like with the dolls and stuff like that. So to have that be like a revelation of as part of like the beginning of this first episode, it was like, okay, I guess that makes a little bit more sense than bringing that into the fold later. Like, why would she be tied up later? She could be. I don't know. She's kind of snooping around anyway, so it's possible she might get herself into some trouble.
She did what's interesting is she so naturally fits at that table too, with all those other dolls when she's sitting there. And then I love how, doesn't she say something along the lines of, I made one for you? And that's when the one doll turns its head and Thing jumps out and attacks the serial killer.
Yeah. I don't think I've thought about it this way, but in a way, Wednesday and Thing, they're kind of like a buddy cop duo.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, which is very cool.
And she even says that too, because we know that in season 2, her brother Pugsley is going to be joining her at Nevermore, and she does say like something along the lines of like, let's get one thing straight, like thing reports to me. Like he's out of commission for you essentially. So it's very clear that she is territorial over him.
Not that she would want to admit it, probably.
No, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And Pugsley also seems to have some supernatural powers too, right? There's, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe it's Fester who teaches him, or there's some brief moments of that. I'm thinking about when they're coming up to the academy and he kind of flings something at the sign.
Yeah.
On the road.
I think you're right. That also
I don't know what that is, but
yeah, that also just makes me hope we see more Fester this season. Like, obviously, it's not that we didn't see him last season, but he's such a great character that I hope we get more time with him. Although, do we know how many episodes this is going to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's 2 parts, so
in traditional Netflix fashion. Yeah. They won't admit that weekly releases are a thing now, so they're like, we're just going to drop 2